Hey everybody, welcome back. Tony again here with Shinsho Yoga. And today we're going to continue the back bend theme that I had going for a couple weeks with a more simple back bend, in my opinion, Shalambhasana or Locust pose. All poses in Sanskrit are named generally after animals, whether you have lizard pose, pigeon pose, cow face pose, locust pose. I mean, there are other names, bow, of course, not named after an animal, warrior, not named after animals, but many are. And locust, in my opinion, actually kind of resembles locust because of how the arms are swept back. And if you ever watch how you see how a locust is, it's kind of streamlined and carried that way. So I actually think when I'm in locust, I can actually see the resemblance. So it's just interesting sometimes how they name the different postures. But Shalambhasana is more of a mild back bend. It's not one that's going to be as intense as we had with bow or nearly as intense as Ustrasana's Camel. It's more mild, but it does, again, like the rest of them, require a certain amount of openness in the back and again along the front of the body, because in order to be able to reach into that back bending status, the front of the body has to open up. So the back of the body has to be limber enough to make it happen. The front of the body has to be open enough to allow you to reach it. So the same thing here with Locust. It's going to require a certain amount of openness to do that. The challenging, or in my opinion, the most challenging part of Locust is going to come in the core, because you're going to be supporting yourself completely with your core. So Locust, although being a back bend in that category somewhat, also crosses over into core work, because unlike Camel, where you're going to be leaning back and supporting yourself and vaulting yourself up, or bow, Dhanurasana, where you're grabbing again and pressing back, you having a structure that is going to support you in the back bend. This one is all your core, lifting you and holding you into the posture. So the challenges you'll run into with Locust is if you have a weak core, right, that it's going to be challenging for you to do. Or if you have tightness in the front of the body, right? Shoulders are going to be a big one in this. And again, here, big one, always in these back bends, shoulders and front of the hips and front of the legs, always going to be a big challenge if they're tight to be able to come into it. There is not any modifications that I can share for this posture, as the posture is not a super deep one that you're getting into. Again, it's going to rely more on your core, so it really depends on how far you push yourself into the posture. It's not as in Camel, where you're leaning back into it and you're going to have to be supported, or in bow, where you're trying to really arch yourself into that shape. This one is going to be more mild, require core strength to hold you up, and it's really just going to come down to how far you can lift yourself in the posture. And again, if we have challenge in the shoulders or in the front of the hips, or we have weakness in our core, that's going to limit how far we can get into the posture. Also, neck too. Tightness in the neck will be hard to crane it up, to bring it up to where it needs to be. So let's go over the posture here and how we get into it. With modifications, as I was saying, there really aren't any on this. There could be ways you could use a blanket and such, but when I've done this posture different ways, working out different ways to do it with support, they're not very effective. There's really nothing with a modification that I have that I feel is effective. So, you come down onto your belly. The legs are long, tops of the feet are down, right? Arms are long along the sides of the body, the palms are down. Now, we start this posture with our head down. Might be hard for you to hear me here because I'm talking into a mat. Do the best you can. And with your breath, you start with lifting the backs of the hands. As the head lifts, you lift the feet off the ground, lifting the head up, lifting the arms. We let the arms draw us up, and we breathe. And you come down with your exhale on control, bringing it all down. And you can take your favorite cheek down to the mat, rocking the hips out. So again, to come into Shalambhasana, Locust. Tops of the feet are down. Avoid splaying them out. Try to keep them in line with the hips, if not in a little bit tighter, okay? It's okay if they're hip distance apart, just don't take them out past the shoulders. The arms are long, along the sides of the body. Palms down. This is important. Not this way, this way. And you start not by bringing yourself up here, but by lifting the palms. So lift the palms, that'll draw the front of the body up, and then synchronize the legs, bringing them up at the same time. Spread the shoulder, lift the gaze, breathe. And then with the breath, gently lower back down. So, Shalambhasana, where you will run into challenges in this posture, in Locust, is going to be core, if you have weakness in it. Right? It'll make it hard to make that lift because we're really working from here. If this is tight, it's going to be hard to lift the legs. If this is tight, it's going to be hard to get those shoulders open. If the triceps are tight, it's going to be hard to lift those arms, right? Pay attention to your body when you come into it. Notice where your challenges are. That is part of the process of yoga. That's a big part of the process of yoga, is developing that body intelligence. Nobody should know your body better than you. Nobody does. No doctor, no one. They're not in your body. Only you know what you feel. So really paying attention to that, where the tension comes up in that posture. That's where you'll have to learn to soften. Right? How do we soften in the posture? Right? Soften being different than weakness. Don't comment too. I'm talking about tensing up here. Breathe into it. Right, that's what we talk about in yoga, is breathing into the muscle. So putting our intention, right, where it is, and letting it open. For me today, I was feeling it back here, right, through my triceps. So those are the places you can run into some challenges when you do that. Don't vault into it. Don't press the hands down into it. Lift the back of the hands up. Let that lift the shoulders. Let that lift the head. Let that bring the legs up. Again, don't let the legs splay out. Keep them long. Try to keep them in line with the hips, if not together, depending on your body. And also don't let the arms come out to the side. Keep them behind you and let that lift you. And as you breathe, because you have to breathe, do not hold your breath. Allow the breath to let you soften and lift a little more, and a little more, and a little more. And when you come down, don't flop out of it. Come down with control and rest. Your teacher may have you counter pose different ways. I often like to let my students just rock their hips out. Sometimes you can bring your hands this way. Different days do it different ways. So, most important though, breathe, follow the breath, and as your thoughts arise, acknowledge them. Allow them to pass by. Return to the breath. Over and over and over again. Most important part of the practice. That breath. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Be happy to respond. Thanks again for watching. Namaste.